Hey there everyone, welcome to another Plebs guide. I'll be your pleb for the evening as we do something a little bit different today. But first I just want to go over all that YouTube stuff, so that needs to be said first really. First, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. It really does help me try to grow the channel and gauge interests. Also, be sure to share the video if you think someone would benefit from it. And if you didn't know, I have a Twitter and Facebook account now, so feel free to follow me there. Those will be in the description, so be sure to follow me and engage with some of the things I do. I do post polls for what I should be doing next on Twitter, which is how this guide was actually chosen, albeit months ago, and then I said it'd be out in a week, and that was about a month ago. A lot of stuff happened. I had an update video. See that for more details. With all that being said, this is a Plebs Guide presents SMITE tips and tricks. I want to point out that I will not be going in any order here, and that this will be more or less some general tips and tricks that can be applied to almost any skill level. Alright, so starting off with tip number 1, and that's know your role. The first thing I want to go over is just knowing your role. Know what you should be doing during the game. If you're a hunter, split push and shred objectives. If you're a guardian, tank and peel. Learn where you should be positioned and when you should be pushing. A lot of this comes with time and experience though, and the basics should not be hard to learn. Maybe a later video can be a role guide, because there's a lot to go over for each. If that's something you guys want, just let me know. But really it's just know what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. Tip number 2. Team comp. I actually just made a guide about team comp, so I will just briefly touch on it here. It's not always necessary to have one of each type, warrior, mage, etc., on a team, but you should try to make sure things are balanced. 2 mages are perfectly acceptable on a team. With the right picks, 2 hunters can be acceptable too, but this doesn't mean that you can always just pick whatever you want. You should learn to fill, and filling makes it so that everyone gets a chance to play everything and ensures that you have a balanced team. I've lost many a game because someone locks that 3rd mage instead of a tank. I often end up playing guardian or warrior nowadays because we need it and no one else wants to pick it. Alright, so next is going to be just a little bit different. I'm actually going to roll up tips 3, 4, and 5 together. So tips 3 through 5. And that's learn your god, read descriptions, and know your damage type. These next few all go together in one way or another. When playing a god you don't know, or sometimes even ones you do know well, take some time to actually read what they do. Learn what each ability does, and what kind of ability it is. Is it a dash? Is it a line ability? Will this ability go through or over walls? These are some things that you need to ask and figure out. I suggest going to jungle practice to discover just what each ability does and how it works. Some gods have abilities that work off each other very well, and there are some abilities that are 3-part moves. For example, Nox has a root, a silence, and a dash. Each of these are good abilities, but when you study your god's abilities and just a little bit, you find that using your silence first, then rooting them in the silence, and then dashing through them once your root is over, is the best combo. This helps you get to the next level of play. Something else to do while in jungle practice is read through every item and figure out what works best with your kit. Some gods are very auto-attack heavy and should be built that way. Some gods are ability based and you should build items that complement that. Does your mage have dot damage or damage over time abilities? Then maybe you should build something like Gem of Isolation and Spear of the Mages. Does your hunter have attack stims in their kit and rely on its auto-attacking? Maybe building attack speed and crit items will benefit you better than mana and cooldown. Alright, going into tip number 6, and that's wards, wards, wards. The way the vision on the minimap works is that if you, an ally, friendly tower phoenix, friendly lane minion sees an enemy, they'll show up on the minimap. Otherwise, they do not show up. Unless you ward. Wards are perhaps the most important consumable you will buy. They help you see in the jungle, and they will ping any enemies in their radius. You can even put them in lane to avoid getting ganked by someone out in the open. This is important in every game mode, except for the assault, as there's only one lane and no real jungle. Wards are cheap, being only 50 gold, and they last 3 minutes. You can only buy 2 at a time, and you can only have 2 active at a time. In my opinion, everyone should at some point in the game buy a Chalice of the Oracle for 400 gold. This gives you 2 wards each time you back, so it pays for itself pretty quickly, and you can lay them down without worrying about waste. In addition to that, if you think the enemy is also warding, you should buy a Sentry Ward. Sentry Wards will make the enemy ward viewable and destroyable in 3 autos. These will typically be placed on big objectives in high traffic areas. Now, not everyone needs to pick up wards, but if everyone did, it would make the game so much easier. Imagine always knowing who's in the jungle waiting to jump over a wall, or where the enemy is so you can take a tower without being rotated on. That's what wards will do for you. So swallow your pride and just buy some. You won't regret it, and neither will your teammates. Wards are also valuable if you have the Relic Teleport, as the upgraded version of it actually allows you to teleport right to them. This is good if you put one way on the other side of the map, and then back to base, and then teleport right back to the action. Oh, and here's a free pro tip. For Nice ult to work, they need to be showing on the minimap. So if you have tons of wards out, you can hit almost anyone anywhere. Tip number 7. Map awareness and positioning. And this is exactly that. Be aware of the minimap. Like I said before, wards help with this immensely. But even if you have everything warded, if you don't look at the map, you'll never know what's really going on. In all game modes, it's important to be aware of your surroundings. This also ties into your positioning. Not everyone is able to escape and can be caught out easily. Positioning might be the most important part of playing Smite, and it's something even pro players can struggle with. One of the most common mistakes is being pushed up too far forward. You're pushing lane up to the enemy tower line, and suddenly you're dead because 3 people jumped on you. Know your ability and auto attack distance as well. If you do not need to be in melee range for your attacks, don't be. If you can stand back and safely get a kill, do it. Another part of positioning is knowing when to escape and to retreat. If you are low on health, it's not wise to walk back into a fight just because you think you can get a kill. Yes, this does work sometimes, but most times you'll lose your life. Also, watch where you are dashing or leaping. This is one that gets me in the most trouble. Dashing in aggressively can and most times will result in being killed by your target's teammates. Bottom line, pay attention. Alright, tip number 8, communication. Part of having map awareness also includes communication. Obviously, being on a headset is going to be the easiest way to do this, but not everyone can or will be. In these cases, you should learn SMITE's VGS or voice guided system and call out what's exactly going on. The difference between getting a kill and a death could be as simple as enemy missing left call out. Communication is just a fundamental part of any team game, really, and should be constantly worked on. There's been plenty of times where I don't know that the enemy is rotating and I don't know exactly what's going on, so I die. Now, that does tie back into map awareness, but it's always better if you can tell your team exactly where everyone else is. Tip number 9. I can't count today. Tip number 9. Builds and counter builds. Knowing what to build is just as important as knowing your god. There's about 1 billion items in SMITE, and they all have a place. Not many are must-haves in every build. Some only work in certain situations, while others have a much broader use. Knowing what to build and when to build it is a major factor on winning and losing. There are many guides out there on what good base builds are for gods, on this channel. And those are a good place to start. Once you get a good handle on what those items do, it's time to start figuring out counter builds. So let's say that you normally build a Spear of Desolation in your mage. Every game, same item. But this game you see the enemy has healers, like Hell or Horus. You might want to consider switching your first pen item from Spear to Divine Ruin, which applies anti-heal on your abilities. Things like this should be looked at through every game. Make sure you pay attention to your enemy's builds too. If you are a tank and you see they're building a ton of penetration, maybe start looking into health items instead. Penetration doesn't mean anything if there's no real armor to penetrate. The reverse applies as well. If you see that their tanks are building into health items early, maybe get a Kinsai or a Soul Reaver, as they do percentage health damage. Does the enemy have a lot of CC? Maybe a Magi's Cloak is what you need to pick up, along with your beads. And I really want to just stress the fact that you need to be paying attention to that, especially the anti-heal part, because even if they have one healer in today's meta, it's a good idea to buy at least one anti-heal item. Everybody should be building it if they have a healer. Even if they have lots of life steal in their builds. And the last tip I have for you here is just have fun. Remember that SMITE is a game, and it should be fun. I know that it's not always that way, and you should always try to remember. But you should always try to remember that it's just a game. You will lose a lot, but after playing a bunch, you will start to win more and more. Keep practicing and keep learning the game. Try not to let the little things get to you, like toxic people. If someone is being toxic in a game, just mute them, so that way you don't have to listen to them and it won't ruin your day. SMITE can be so much fun, it has an amazing community around it that just like to sit back and have fun. But there's always going to be a few bad eggs in any online game, or just really any game or anything online in general. Anyway, well, that actually just about wraps up another Plebs Guide. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and I really hope you learned something. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video with as many people as you can. Help me grow this channel. If you have any ideas for any other guides you want me to do, drop them in the comment section below and I'll work on it. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Facebook as well, as I post polls and things there. Not like tongue twisters, because apparently I can't even talk normal twisters. Again, thank you for watching, and remember this: thanks, you rock, have fun, and good luck.